Okay, so welcome back to the cabin once again. Today, so let me tell you what my intentions were for today, and then I'll show you what happened. So my intentions was, I wrote this story called Don't Overlook Your Gift. And my intentions was to sit here at the table like I did last time and read this story to you. And then my mom plays a huge part of this story. So what I wanted to do was, this is our story, my mom and I's story. So what I wanted to do was read this to you and then go down to mom's house like I do so many times and just cook breakfast for her and wait for things to happen kind of naturally. And what wound up happening, it's getting pretty big back there, isn't it? What wound up happening is that I got a curveball thrown at me. I think often God will lead us to a place and not give us all of the information. I took this story with me because I needed to show it to you on the camera, not to read it. But as I was walking through the story with my mom and reliving that little moment at her kitchen table, God made me read the story to my mother. And I've never actually sat and read anything to my mom because I struggle with reading and I know that I'm getting better and I'm trying, but I've never sat and read to my mom. So right at that very moment, if you really want to see God's hands at work, watch the video and look at the very moment when he spoke to me and said, read it. Because up until that very second, I didn't know that I was going to read it to my mom. I had intentions of just doing my little part down there and then coming home and reading the story to you here in the privacy of my home where I could edit and cut and paste or whatever. But that's not what happened. So I'm going to do a video for coffee soup to show people what coffee soup is, because there's probably a lot of people that have not had. Sit over there. Okay. Toast and eggs.
At 8 o'clock last night, I didn't feel good.
No.
I want to put my tree up one day this week.
Want 2 eggs?
Yeah. Make sure they're done.
Yes, ma'am.
Figured Bart would be here by now.
Cold out there this morning. She's probably sleeping in.
Don't matter to her. She's always out here. I'm going to make them raisin filled cookies this morning. I'm going to mix them up to make so you can take them to work tomorrow.
Toast is up. Get you a different one. Excuse me. Yeah.
Oh.
I don't think a lot of people know how to do raisin-filled cookies. So you're going to have to share that recipe with me.
Ain't nothing to it. It's just a sugar recipe.
Just a sugar recipe? Like, what is a sugar recipe? I don't even know what a sugar recipe is. Sugar cookies?
Yeah.
What's in the sugar
Then they
cookies?
take raisins, sugar, and cornstarch, mix it together, and then put them in the, let them cool, and put them in the thing. Cookies.
Just that simple.
Yeah.
You make it sound so easy. I wrote a story called Don't Overlook Your Gift. And I've never read this to you, or I've never I don't read well, so my phone, I've never let my phone read this to you either, and I'm not going to today either. But you played a key part in this, so they don't know about it yet. And the day I wrote this story, you said something that I had never heard before. So, I'm a twin. I'm only saying it because they don't know. I know it. And I knew all of my life that you didn't know you were having twins. So, that's kind of the story. I don't want to really tell it. I kind of would like you to tell it if you don't mind.
When I went to the doctors, I had Dr. Bacon, and he kept saying the baby wasn't alive, that I would lose it. It was in certain times I would have miscarriage. So we went on through the months, and I didn't have no movement or nothing. So he said they were dead.
But I thought he didn't know that there was...
No, he didn't know there was twins.
He didn't know there was twins, so he
No.
assumed that the baby was dead.
Yeah. But then I went to the hospital. I didn't have one, and I ended up having twins.
So from what I understand, the doctor was like...
The doctor delivered one, and he said, hurry up, there's another one.
And there's another one, get a nurse.
Yeah.
So... That was the story that I kind of wanted to tell with this story, because I didn't know. I knew that, that was back in the days when there wasn't sonograms and, where they weren't actually looking at the baby. They were just listening for a heartbeat.
Yeah.
And somehow the doctor must have been missing the heartbeat because there wasn't a heartbeat.
Yeah.
And he assumed that the baby was dead.
Right.
And then when you went to have birth of this one child that supposedly was going to be dead, the first baby come out alive, and that was of course my twin brother. And then the doctor had to say, hurry up, get a nurse because there's another one.
Yeah.
So I wrote this story called Don't Overlook Your Gift. And the gist of the story is that it is life itself is the greatest gift.
Yeah.
And although I don't want to read this right now, I feel like I should. So I'm going to. I'm probably going to cry.
Oh.
This wasn't the way I had this video planned. Because I was going to go home and read this in quiet at home to myself because I struggle reading.
Yeah.
And I've never read this to you. I don't share all my... I share some of my stories with you, but I don't share them all. But this is ultimately our story together, not my story. Okay. So for those of you, the story I wrote right after having this conversation with my mom at the table was Don't Overlook Your Gift. So here we go. There was a day, not all that long ago, when I didn't believe in gifts. Not when it comes to God giving you an ability. Well, as far as that goes, I've made it clear that not all that long ago I didn't believe in God. So no God, no gifts. To me, some people were just better at some things than others. For me, I had a niche in chimneys. It's what I've done all of my life. So over time, you get good at what you do every day. But something happened one day after I was saved. One day, deep down inside me, that I had a story to tell. I felt like it was something I wanted to write, but had never written anything in my life. So, without knowing why I was doing it, one day in my driveway, I just said, God, I feel like I have a story to tell. I feel like I should write it. But I've never written anything before and don't even know where to start. I said, but if you should so wish, you could help? I said, if you help and give me the words, I promise I will write every time I see your hands at work. The very next day, it was really weird. Somehow, I felt like I could write, although I had never done it before. So I got a pen and paper, and I went to my back kitchen. And as I was sitting at the table, getting ready to give it a shot for the first time, it was like the letters were just falling out of the sky, and I just needed to keep up. Although what I write about is an event in life that I had just lived, the words that I was writing were not mine. In some cases, I didn't even see it from that angle until I was done writing. Sometimes I would get tired of writing and I would go to visit my mom. But I couldn't get the stories to stop writing. I know that sounds strange, but it's true. As I would sit at the table, the story would just keep writing in my head. And in most cases, it was really good. So I would get out my phone and just try to keep up. Although I really appreciate the compliments, it's the reason I have a hard time accepting them. My mom knows that the stories I write don't belong to me. They belong to the teacher. I like to call God, Jesus, the teacher. Because to me, that's what he is. I've heard it said that you can never be greater than the sum of your teachers. With each and every story, he teaches me just a little more. In this story, he taught me that he is willing and able to grant me a gift if I just believe with all of my heart and ask. Deal. Now don't think for a second that this comes without a price. What is the price? Keep your word. And a gift is not a gift until you acknowledge the gifter. I say thank you a lot. In my heart, I believe God lets me live out certain scenarios so that I can pass on his wisdom and teaching. I live alone and I talk to God often. As I work on the cabin, I know the project is so much larger than I am. So I do the only thing I know how to do. I ask for help, both physically and mentally. I feel if I stick to the guidelines that I had mentioned, there is no limit to what God will help with. Now saying that, you must have one ear open at all times in case he needs you someplace else that you don't know about. Those can be some of the biggest blessings. Well, it's time to wrap up the story. At the beginning, I called this story, don't overlook your gift. I'll tell you, I have. Something happened the other day at Mom's kitchen table that humbled me to tears instantly. I had to get up and pretend like I was going to get coffee so she wouldn't see. As I have mentioned before, I am a twin, Jerry and Larry. But back when Mom was pregnant with us, she didn't know she was having twins. The part that I didn't know is that Mom was told her baby would be dead when it was born. At that very second, I saw my life flash before my eyes. But not only was her baby not dead, the doctor had to say, "There's another one." At that very second, I realized the greatest gift we have is the one of life. If you strip away all the amazing things that God has allowed me to do in my life, at the end of it is the gift of life. So I guess my message is, you only have one life to live. Make the most of it. Be thankful. Say thank you to the gifter and live it to its fullest. And ask the teacher for help.
Very good.
That's my story. I just think that so many people have really bad things happen to them when they're younger, and it destroys the rest of their life. And
Yeah.
you, for instance, divorced young, having to raise all of us children on your own, I never knew your struggles because you still had life to live. You still instilled the greatest things in us to be good people, to go out and do good things, and to be nice to people. And I just think that if we can try to use those things that happen negatively against us as power to thrust us forward, then we become greater people and we can help the world become a better place. And I think that this is an example that you set for all of us kids.
Yeah.
All of us.
Very good.
There comes a point in your life where you have to look back and be thankful for everything. You have to be thankful that you are where you are.
Yeah.
You have to be thankful for the people in your life. You have to be thankful for the people that left your life. You have to be thankful and grateful, and you have to move forward. And I think this of all weeks is probably the best week for that message. Just be thankful in whatever it is. You have no option but to live out today the best you can, and then tomorrow repeat. Forget about what happened yesterday. Let's move on to this day.
Yeah.
And just live it the best you can. And I'm thankful that I get to come down and make you breakfast and spend time here at the table. When I was working more, like when I was married, I didn't get to come down all that often.
Yeah.
You know, I was working all the time. I was taking care of my own family, and so it wasn't easy to find the time when I was so busy with all the other stuff.
Yeah.
And now that I'm into this style of life, this not pursuing as much money and trying to live more simple, it allows me, it's Monday morning. Everybody else I know just left to go to work, and they're spending their days at work making money. And here I am sitting at the kitchen table having a conversation with my mom, which I couldn't be more grateful for. So anyway, that is our story. Don't overlook your gift. It is the gift of life. I'm going to wrap it up at that.
Yeah.